I come from a family which is quite grounded into holistic wellness and spiritual awakening. Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, Sidney, Shelley, and various other people. You know, for instance, one of the most beautiful concept was by a gentleman called Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Can you believe it? He originated a concept called willful suspension of disbelief. Sukoon, and to another word is Thera.
Got it.
These are spiritual principles. And everybody in the world, notwithstanding the level of prosperity in the material world, are looking for sukoon.
Hi guys, welcome to Be Enlightened Media Productions and Enlightened with Neha, the podcast. We have a very special guest today. First of all, a very dear friend to me who has really helped me and guided me through my journey. So I'm very grateful to you, Pramod, to
You're
be
welcome.
here and enlighten us with your bundle of wisdom and knowledge that you have absorbed from various sources.
Sure.
So, yeah, please.
Nehha, first of all, it's an honor and privilege to be invited by you here. You yourself have got amazing dossier of success and work and accomplishments. The gravitas that you carry and bring to the table is what impressed me about you. Whether your earlier version as a top-notch architect, and now in this huge new avatar of an author, of a healer, and of an influencer, awesome journey. And I read your books, fantastic, great depth. So for me, it's a great privilege and honor to be here and share my thoughts from a very heart-based authenticity, not just knowledge from Google or whatever, but I'll really want to dip into my experience in my life and present whatever you would like me to say or talk about.
Wonderful. I love that. I love that.
Sure.
So, firstly, thank you so much for those kind words. I feel
You're
very honored and
Sure.
grateful for it.
Sure.
To start with, can we kind of take a deep dive into your enlightening journey? You know, like we all go through a process of evolution in life,
Fantastic.
and I'm sure you've gone through as well with a lot of catharsis. And,
Yes.
so could you kind of share, you know, what was the onset, the milestones of your journey of spiritual awakening, also your professional, you know, accomplishments? I'm sure you have a lot of accolades on your hat. So please enlighten all of us.
Okay. So, I come from a family which is quite grounded into holistic wellness and spiritual awakening.
Wow.
And I'm referring to my parents.
Yeah.
They had their own guru, Babaji Maharaj, and very simple but extremely poignant journey of how to make this life a very balanced existence. So that's my backdrop.
Got
And
it.
that pretty much sort of determined my vector about how I panned out and everything I did and said. So, like a typical ambitious upper middle class boy, I was extremely keen to make it very good at studies, sports, debates, elocutions. Basically, come out as an all rounder
Got it.
and help me sculptor my personality, if you will. Okay.
Wow.
So that led me to many things at school, at colleges, debates, cricket, badminton, sports, whatever. And the net result was I was a gold medalist at my university, at my graduation.
Wow. Already at that point.
And a very interesting thing which I would really like to share is, do you want to know what were my combinations at graduation?
Please.
Very, very
Bring it
interesting.
on.
Psychology, literature, and mathematics.
What a lethal combination, Pramod.
Absolutely.
My next question is, how did you think of?
Okay, one is I thought from an emotional quotient and emotional intelligence, psychology helps you a lot in understanding yourself as well as others. And what is this world if not really understanding others and relating with them?
Absolutely.
Nobody works in isolation really. And everywhere, whether it's in cinema or an airplane or an office, whether or not you like it, you're interacting with others. So it's only imperative that you have a good understanding of human nature, and psychology helps a lot.
Absolutely.
I have a
to agree
great,
with
great
that.
love for literature, English literature, rich. I mean, you know, uh,
Are you
there's
the
this
Shakespeare guy?
Shakespeare, Christopher Marlowe, Sidney, Shelley, and various other people.
Of course.
You know, for instance, one of the most beautiful concept was by a gentleman called Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Can you believe it? He originated a concept called willful suspension of disbelief.
Wow.
I repeat, willful suspension of disbelief.
Could you
Neha,
please elaborate?
that sets the base for all cinema, cinematic experience, and theatre. They carry you into the world where you willfully suspended disbelief that this is not true, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just buy into a romantic song, an adventure of, Harry Potter. What do? You suspend your logic.
Yeah.
For someone to make you an intelligent, well-educated person, to suspend your sense of rationality and really believe into the willful suspension of disbelief is phenomenal.
Beautiful.
And that's the basis or the backdrop of all poetry, all cinema, all theatre, and all stories.
Wow.
Now that I would never have learned if I had not learned Samuel Taylor Coleridge.
Got it.
He wrote this amazing poem called The Rime of Ancient Mariner.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that was my interest in literature, and it really increased my sensibilities. The aesthetic part of life. For instance, William Wordsworth's famous poem, "She was a phantom of delight when she first gleamed upon my sight." Oh boy,
Oh,
cannot be
wow.
more romantic
We
statement.
all love and admire that.
From
Don't
a
we?
boy to a girl, and he's saying she was a phantom of delight when she first gleamed upon my sight. I mean, in two simple lines, he nailed it.
Absolutely.
So that was literature and all that. Mathematics is very important to lead a practical life.
Yes.
It gives a quantitative. So if you go back to psychology, there's a left brain and there's a right brain.
Right.
Left brain is all about logic, statistics, data analysis. So a lot of toppers are very, very left brain centric.
Yeah.
But it's
yeah.
got to be, so I call it the logical mind. Then there's the intuitive part of your brain, which is the right brain. So for you to evolve, you got to have a wonderful balance, which I call a cosmic intelligence.
Wow.
Right? So this is the emotional intelligence, this is the intelligence, the IQ. But if you want to lead a very good, successful life and come across as a very balanced individual, that amazing blend, if you will, of the left brain and the right brain is all about cosmic intelligence, which links beautifully back to spirituality.
How profound is that?
And
I
what,
love it.
and since you touched upon spirituality, you know what exactly is spirituality? Look at this amazing, poignant definition. Simple.
Uh-huh.
Spirituality is developing an ability to see God in others.
Oh my God.
So
You
when
said
you
it.
see God in
You said
others,
it.
you'll obviously be with reverence and respect. And once you are respecting somebody else, you get respect. You are inclusive. You are camaraderie. You are cohesiveness. So an ability, you having that mindset and a slant to really see there is God in everybody's heart. When you go with that mindset, there's no way you will have enemies.
Of course. Of course. It's
You
the
will
best way to
actually,
live.
yeah. So that was the backdrop from my parents' side and my graduation. And everybody said, "What's Pramod doing? Psychology, literature, maths." But all the critics were shut when I was a state gold medalist, topper for the state of Karnataka University. You see?
Beautiful.
And then they took up notice. All right. The next part, like all boys, you either try for the civil services or you try for an MBA. And I have a very
Two
interesting.
standard
Yes.
conventional choices.
Yeah, and I want to tell a very interesting insight into my
Please
life.
do.
My head of department, when I got into the third year of graduation, he called my father
Uh-huh.
and he said, "I'm aware that Pramod is preparing for 2 entrance examinations, the MBA IM CAT examinations, and is trying for UPSC. I just have a very personal request. Can he take those next year?" So
Okay.
my father said no, he wants to finish his graduation. One door closes, there's no loss of air, he goes. So my professor said, 1 year is nothing, but I really wish. My father's got inquisitive. Said, why? He said, from the way he's writing and is doing, he's an extremely high prospect for gold medalist at the graduation.
Wow.
My fear is, if he
Oh yeah.
diversifies his attention to this, his shot at a gold medal may dip and it will be very tragic. The civil service he can take for the next 10 years, but graduation is only once in life.
Yeah, true that.
My father came back and we were in a moral dilemma. And I'm saying it doesn't matter if I'm a topper or not. I need to look at the next step forward, the next vector forward, whether I should look at civil services and these are very competitive examinations. So obviously there are only 24 hours in a day and you only have that much time. So you need to divide. And guess what? I dropped my UPSC and MBA examinations purely trusting the faith that my professor has in me.
Yeah.
Now imagine, he said, I do not want Pramod to stand on 2 stools because he's neither there. So let him focus on his graduation.
Makes
goal.
sense. Yeah.
But it's not a tough one. It made sense. But Nehha, let me tell you, you're groping. What if I drop these and go for gold medal and I don't get a gold medal?
Yeah. I mean, that
So,
conflict.
you
is
know, you
always
lost a gold medal and you also lost 1 year. Then you wait for 1 year to prepare. But I listened to my heart and I said, if he's trusting me and I have my abilities, so I deferred my MBA and my UPSC for next
For
year
a year.
and I stopped my preparations and I focused on it. I'm very humbled and honored and thank God that I got my gold medal. Otherwise, I would have been a very frustrated
Wow.
guy because I would have even
Applause.
lost both. So when that happened and then I looked around, I said, good, I've done my exams. Now let me look around, what are the entrance examinations available?
Right.
Because the CAT examination happened in December, the graduate exam happened in March. Therefore, my professor saw conflict.
Right.
Neither here nor there. So then I looked around and I got Tata Institute of Social Sciences, again a premium institute in the country. Okay?
Wow. So it was all like.
And God blessed
falling
me
in
because
place for
I
you.
got both.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. And that was my journey in terms of my ACADS. Okay?
Right.
But during the ACADS, apart from ACADS, what I really focused on was really building good relationship with friends and people because they last.
Most important.
Number 2, when I got my gold medal, I really thought, I used to read Vivekananda a lot. Swami Vivekananda was very huge influence on me. At a very young age, he captured the world. What an influencer.
Wow,
When he goes
I'm
to
surprised.
Chicago and he says, dear sisters and brothers, women had tears in their eyes because nobody ever called them sister. And here
Yeah.
was a monk from Bengal, from India,
Yeah.
and he starts his speech, that famous Chicago speech, by saying, dear sisters and brothers. Oh my God. And then his various
I
writings.
think he was the first one to get that brotherhood concept.
Absolutely,
Right? Because
absolutely.
he
So,
imbibed it,
yeah, and therefore, he was a good influence on me. So, one thing always happened, especially when I passed my MBA, I said, is this what life is all about? A great job, a wonderful salary, and because it's a wonderful salary, you get a good looking wife, and then you produce 2 children, and then you have a fancy car and a house. This was not giving me the lovely word in Urdu called sukoon.
wow.
Sukoon, and another word is thehrav.
Got it.
These are spiritual principles. And everybody in the world, notwithstanding the level of prosperity in the material world, are looking for sukoon and thehrav.
Absolutely. If they are aware.
If they're
First of
aware.
all, they
Wonderful
have to be
point.
aware. Yeah.
Because one of the biggest things that a person wants to pursue is self-awareness.
Exactly. That's
So
the first step.
that I would like to definitely, I bow down to Puja Babuji Maharaj, whose teachings I got through my parents, and that whole spiritual methodology and the doctrine of receiving transmission, cleansing your mind of all complexities and inferiorities, and go to bed with a complete surrender and faith. I love those 2 words which you and I have talked about.
The
Faith and surrender
spiritual
saying,
magic that he
Yeah.
did on all of us.
yeah. And you just say, you don't go and say, God, if I'm flying in a plane, let me survive, others die, just so if there's a crash. You don't say that. A spiritual outset is, let thy will be done. What a profound.
Oh man.
Thy is
High
THY in hi-fi. THY capital. Let your will happen. If I have to go, let me go. If I have to get the job, let you decide.
Even Daji says
Even
that,
Daji.
right?
Now, let me
Like,
tell. Daji, which is Dr. Kamlesh Patel, is a phenomenal successor and an ascendant from the school of Puja Babaji Maharaj.
Absolutely.
And the way Daji, who's now fondly known as Daji, he's really expounded Babaji's principles from efficacy of Raj Yoga to towards infinity, voice real. He's really given a doctrine which, and best part is, it suits modern day life. You do not have to
You said
abandon
it.
your family and sit in
Yeah.
Himalayas. You don't have to wear a saffron robe, not that I have anything against saffron robe, but you do not have to be detached. In simple words, like Daji puts it beautifully, look at a bird. How does a bird fly, an eagle or a bird? It has two wings. So in human life, you positioning yourself as one wing being material wing, one wing, and the other wing being spiritual wing.
Yes.
So it's also stupid to abandon wife, children, family and go and they suffer. That's no spirituality. At the same time, it's absolutely criminal to be, the word that comes to mind is hedonistic philosophy.
Yeah.
Hedonism is about pleasure seeking, more and more, and selfishness and me, myself. That's hedonism. And if you sway a little skew towards one wing, which is material wing, you are a perfect example of hedonism.
Yeah.
At the same time, if you go totally spiritual, you're an impractical person, then you shouldn't even be marrying and producing children. And family.
Absolutely.
So how do you balance this? Very few people have got an insight and a way forward and a very structured process, if you will, by Puj Babaji Maharaj and now Daji. So
I mean,
that
he's a living example.
he's a living example.
Right.
I mean,
He's
Dr.
walking the
Kamlesh,
talk, like they say. Yeah.
and Neha, Dr. Kamlesh Patel is one of the most successful businessmen in the US of A.
Yeah.
And you know what
undoubtedly.
it takes to be a successful businessman in the US of A. You're savvy on IQ, you're savvy on SQ, you're savvy on emotional intelligence, and yet he carries a heart of a
Gold.
compassionate heart of a father to everybody.
Yes.
How did he strive that?
Yeah.
Because he said, while I use my left brain to get the material success, I really want to always have a compassionate heart. And so today, no wonder he is the global guide guiding people on how do you do a heartfulness meditation. Phenomenal.
How inspiring it is.
He's my role model because he's not an ascetic who just abandoned the world.
Yeah.
He's married, he's got 2 children, he's lived but he's traveled the world, and yet he had his heart beautifully anchored to the pursuit of ultimate realization. And I think that's easier said than done, but
Wow.
it can be done. So to me, those are guiding principles.
Beautiful.
You know how it, I'm really
It's very
addressing this,
relatable. Actually.
enlivening
Yeah.
about the spiritual
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
In terms of materialism, fine. I passed out like every MBA, got onto a good job. I was very fortunate, extremely blessed to work for some marquee brands, global brands. And let me share this with you just so that a lot of what I am today is not just Pramod. It's the great mentors and coaches I got. Citibank, Microsoft.
Wow.
Then I went to Oman International Bank. Okay, HDFC Bank, KPMG, JP Morgan, and my last was Oracle.
The giants.
The
you're talking
real
about.
global marquee brands.
Wow.
And these are tough, demanding companies.
Of course.
Why I named this is not to impress anybody. To tell you how did Pramod manage these pulls and pressures at this extremely brutal, bottom line driven companies.
The beautiful integration.
Spirituality.
That's the challenge.
So I would work through the day like a warrior, deliver like a good, solid professional in the material world, but come back home to my heart
Wow.
and saying, I ain't gonna disturb my internal condition in pursuit of material wealth and success and promotions and international transfers.
Wow.
Conversely, because I'm pursuing that, I'm not going to lose my Tehrav and Sukoon. Because then what are you living for? Harried,
said it, yeah.
harried, suffering from diabetes to paranoia to schizophrenia to a whole lot of psychosomatic disorders. And believe you me, there are a lot of people with fancy titles and great jobs, their personal lives, I feel sad for them, I empathize with them, I'll pray for them, but the truth is, what glitters is not gold. There's a whole lot of subconscious. And the other thing is, we all operate in the world of consciousness. What Reverend Daji Kamlesh Patel told me is, or taught me is, there's a subconscious world and there's a superconsciousness world. So he says, expand the level of consciousness. the moment you raise the band of consciousness, you start merging with the super consciousness, and you also dip into your subconscious.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of what you say and do is emerging from the subconscious,
That's
which gets
kind of, yeah.
which gets manifest into the conscious world. Now, marrying this deep philosophy with the hard, brutal material world of presentations, wins,
Yeah.
competitions,
Cutthroat.
deals, in the cutthroat world, wonderfully
Yeah,
worked, in the
yeah.
cutthroat world,
Yeah.
where because out there only results matter, only results matter. But just because you're pursuing results doesn't mean you become an animal, right? So for me, that experience, and thanks to my parents and Reverend Babuji and Kamlesh Patel, that really brought about a wonderful balance and which we led on to. So worked with these companies, and I must share with you, I have a deep passion for teaching.
Oh,
So
wow.
while I kept working
Good
voluntarily,
for us.
I used to teach at B schools in the evenings.
Really?
A lot of it was for free.
Evident. Your passion is evident with that. Yeah.
Thank you. And let me tell you why. My father said two things.
Uh-huh.
I have two reasons.
Sure.
One, when you teach, actually learn.
I have to agree.
When I write my case studies for B school,
Yes.
I need to dip into research. So I become more learned.
So that was your sublime purpose.
Sublime, and it's a very selfish purpose actually. No, I
Yeah.
want to be more learned, and therefore I would go and teach. So to teach, I would prepare.
Yeah.
Whether it's Bajaj Institute or I am
Yeah.
Ahmedabad, I am Bangalore, I am Lucknow, I am Calcutta, and various other B
All
schools in the
big
country,
names.
including overseas. So one motive was, Pramod, you need to learn a lot, so you start teaching. So last 25
I
years I've been.
appreciate your honesty. Not many people confess this.
It's just as well that others benefited, but the main thing was let me become more educated because no power like knowledge, right?
Absolutely.
And confidence. The other was my father, noble person that is in the footsteps of Babaji. He said, look, you're not so rich to give all the money to help people. You cannot do a lot of philanthropy. You can as much, but the best thing is give back to society, especially hungry aspirant students. Not everything is got in textbook. You definitely don't get everything on Google. There is some intuitive experience of life unless you've gone through it. I'll give an example. If tomorrow, Neha, you decide to go to Himalayas, who do you hire? You hire a Sherpa as a coach. Why? He lives that life.
Yeah.
The change in oxygen levels, 30,000 feet, 40,000 feet, or 10,000 feet. He knows the environment. He's been there, done
They
that.
know it all.
It'll be stupid of me saying, no, I'm just MBA, PhD, so I'm not going to. No, if I have to trek, let me look at the Sherpa. He'll be my guru because he's traversed that path. Same thing also spiritual. Why do you need a guru?
That's a wiser thing to do.
Yeah, because he's been through that path. He knows where the potholes are there, where the stream, where the oxygen. So instead of reinventing, why don't you leverage? So that to me was an amazing guidance which I always had. So I wanted to pass on that, and my father told me that give back.
Wow.
So a lot of these classes I've done
What
free
an
of cost.
advice.
So as a result, I've taught at this B schools. One thing led to the other, and I started conducting management development program for the C-suite of corporate.
Wow.
Invited by
It's
all
like
these
10x
esteemed.
level.
Yeah, I am Ahmedabad, Bangalore. I've done a lot of these MDP programs. That led to the next part of coaching, and today coaching is a big thing. So the prestigious Indian School of Business has me as an empaneled executive coach.
Amazing.
And to top it, I went and got certified to the world by the world's best coach, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith. So I'm a certified Dr. Marshall
My
Goldsmith
God.
coach.
How
and a
many
global
more
coach.
feathers do you have
No,
in your
it is
hat,
all passion.
Pramod?
It's all wanting to be humble and
Hidden
learn.
talents like the hidden secrets.
Well, it is Hidden Secrets, and what a book, Neha. Hats off to you.
No, let's not digress there.
Okay, so coming back,
Yeah.
so now I wear a hat of a corporate executive. I run my management consulting. I teach at business schools. I mentor people. I mentor startups. I mentor MSMEs. And most important, I coach C-suite professionals
Wow.
on three principles: courage, humility, and discipline.
Beautiful.
So courage, CHD, courage, humility, discipline.
Beautiful.
And what we do is we take already successful people to the next orbit of excellence.
Got it. Got it. So, are you referring to even like the purpose of life
Yeah.
for them? Because coaching, I mean, there's life coaching, there's purpose coaching, and I'm guessing so, since
There's
I
business
come
coaching.
from similar to me.
Yeah.
That business coaching would include the softer, the emotional part of life.
You actually cannot separate, because when I sit with the CEO and we start quote unquote peeling the onion of